Right now, tonight, there are 87 large fires burning uncontained across this country, and in the last 24 hours, firefighters only managed to fully wrap up 3 of them. 3 out of 87. That's the kind of number that tells you the entire system is stretched about as thin as it can go. And it gets worse from here, because a dry cold front is barreling toward the inland northwest right now, and by Saturday morning, it's going to bring 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts into a landscape that is already primed to explode. Oregon and Washington are living through their worst wildfire year since the year 2000. More than 2 million acres gone between the two states. And the next 24 hours could decide whether this weekend becomes a footnote or a disaster. So let's get into everything that's happening, because there's a lot to cover today. We're recording this on July 31st, 2026, and the National Interagency Fire Center put out its morning situation report at 7:30 Mountain Time, confirming something pretty serious. The country is now at National Preparedness Level 5. That's as high as the scale goes. There simply isn't a higher gear to shift into. Right now, there are close to 27,000 firefighters and support staff spread across the nation, backed by more than 1,500 engines, nearly 600 crews, almost 200 helicopters in the air, and even 74 specialists who flew in from overseas just to help fight these fires. Nationally, we're already at 4.8 million acres burned this year, which works out to 133% of the normal 10-year average, and we're not even into August yet. Let's start down in Nevada before working our way north, because that's where things begin to heat up. Just north of New Pass Peak, along the line between Churchill and Lander counties, the New Pass fire has burned nearly 30,000 acres and sits at 24% contained. Crews had a decent night, locking down the north and west edges, and on the south side, they're doing what's called strategic firing, basically lighting controlled burns ahead of the main fire to rob it of fuel before it gets there. The worry for this weekend is afternoon winds up to 25 miles an hour, combined with humidity that barely recovers overnight, meaning the air never really gets a chance to dampen back down, even after the sun sets. Add in pinyon and juniper trees, which are basically oily kindling once they catch, and you've got a recipe for embers throwing themselves way out ahead of the fire line. If you're anywhere near central Nevada this weekend, keep your phone's emergency alerts on. Now let's head into Oregon, because this is really where the story lives right now. Oregon alone has 30 large fires burning inside its borders, which means more than a third of every major fire in the entire country is happening in one state. Down in the far southeast corner near the Idaho border, the Big Grass Fire has ballooned to over 300,000 acres, bigger than the city of Los Angeles, and it's sitting at 21% containment. Evacuations and closures are active throughout that corridor, with a lot of homes and infrastructure directly in the path. So if you're anywhere near Jordan Valley, Pleasant Valley, or South Mountain, you need to be following the Owyhee County Sheriff's Office directly. Moving northwest, the Fox Fire near Huntington has burned over 75,000 acres and is more under control at 58% containment, though it did force a full 70-mile shutdown of Interstate 84 between Baker City and Ontario. That's partially reopened now. Then, there's the fire that jumped out at me most in today's report. South of Warm Springs, the Bench Fire tore through almost 20,000 additional acres overnight alone, pushing its total past 65,000 acres with only 32% contained. Fire behavior overnight included short crown runs and group torching, meaning the fire is leaping tree to tree through the canopy, plus embers landing well ahead of the main blaze and sparking new fires on their own. Homes and power infrastructure are directly threatened, and the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs have declared a state of emergency because of it. Further north into Mount Hood National Forest, the Grasshopper Fire has burned over 21,000 acres and sits at 0% containment. 0. That means there is no established line around this fire at all yet, and crews are purely on the defensive. East toward Pendleton, the Hagen Fire has burned 33,000 acres with just 3% contained, and it's threatening energy infrastructure tonight, which makes that thin, barely there containment line especially dangerous heading into Saturday's winds. The fire with the most direct human impact right now, though, is the Rogue Creek Complex, West Zone, near Prineville. It's burned around 304,000 acres and is 46% contained. But what makes it different is that all 3 evacuation levels are active simultaneously in different pockets around it. Level 1 means be ready to go. Level 2 means pack up now and be prepared to leave immediately. Level 3 means leave this second. Don't wait for anything. Near the Ochoco Reservoir, 2 RV parks along Highway 26 are under that Level 3 order right now, and locals with trucks that can tow fifth-wheel trailers are being asked to help people get their RVs out. Going in is entirely at your own risk. Overnight, crews built new containment lines and caught a 20-acre spot fire before it could break loose. And today's whole mission is holding what they built and tightening the edges before the winds arrive this afternoon. Command on that fire actually hands off to a new incident management team on Sunday. Up in Washington state, 11 large fires are burning uncontained. And just like Oregon, 2026 is already the worst fire year the state has seen since 2000. The Kaiser Canyon fire is the largest in the state at nearly 130,000 acres and 29% contained. And it's being treated as a top priority for national resources, active uphill runs, flanking fire, and short-range spotting, with structures threatened and evacuations already underway. A second incident team is now flying in from Alaska just to help manage it. Further northeast, near Enchelium, the Modoc fire has burned over 212,000 acres, with 27% containment and extreme fire behavior. All week, these Washington fires have been pushing north, but once Saturday's winds shift out of the west, they're going to get shoved hard to the east instead, meaning a town that's only seeing distant smoke this morning could be under a Level 3 evacuation order by tomorrow afternoon. Let's zoom out for a second. Down south, Dallas, Oklahoma City, and Houston are baking under heat index values pushing past 105 degrees, and that heat is sticking around well into the evening, so hydration matters even after dark. Out in the desert southwest and Southern California, highs are running 105 to 120 degrees this weekend. Heat like that can be life-threatening within minutes for anyone vulnerable, so be extremely careful about outdoor plans. Meanwhile, the Four Corners region is actually getting a bit of a break, with monsoon thunderstorms bringing some much-needed rain to Colorado, Utah, Arizona, and New Mexico. And that storm activity is expected to push into the Ozarks and lower Mississippi Valley too, with some storms turning strong. Up in the Northeast, New York, Boston, Philadelphia are sitting at or below normal temperatures. And the tropics are quiet for now too, which is one small piece of good news heading into the busiest stretch of hurricane season. Okay, now here's the part that really matters. The reason fire officials have been watching the calendar all week. While the West bakes under that heat dome, a cold front is dropping down out of British Columbia at the exact same time. Normally you'd hear cold front and think relief is coming, but this one is dry. The Cascades are going to block essentially all the moisture from ever reaching eastern Washington. So we're talking zero rainfall east of the mountains on Saturday. None. Instead, that side of the state gets gusts up to 50 miles an hour, humidity crashing down into the 10 to 20% range, and temperatures still sitting in the upper 80s, all on top of ground that's been bone dry for weeks. That combination is exactly what NOAA's Storm Prediction Center labels extremely critical fire weather. And it's serious enough that the National Weather Service issued a PDS red flag warning, meaning particularly dangerous situation. This designation has only existed for a couple of summers, and this weekend marks the very first time it's ever been used in Washington state. That alone should tell you how seriously forecasters are taking this. One more detail worth sitting with. There's no lightning expected anywhere in Saturday's forecast, which means any fire that starts is going to be started by a person, whether that's a dragging trailer chain, an unattended campfire, or an off-road vehicle. In these conditions, a single spark can turn into a major fire within minutes. So where does this actually go from here? Forecasters are confident the wind itself is coming. The major weather models all agree on timing and intensity, and that kind of agreement gives meteorologists real confidence in the forecast. What's uncertain is exactly how the existing fires respond once those winds hit. In the best case, crews prepositioned overnight hold their lines on fires like Rogue Creek and Kaiser Canyon. Evacuations go out with enough lead time, and Saturday night ends with fires that grew but stayed within manageable bounds. In a middle scenario, a fire like Kaiser Canyon or Big Grass makes a serious run into new territory Saturday afternoon, pushing Level 1 and 2 communities up to Level 3 and stretching already exhausted crews even further. And in the worst case, 50-mile-an-hour gusts combined with single-digit humidity can make fire behavior turn erratic and explosive almost instantly, giving nearby communities very little warning, which is unfortunately the exact setup behind some of the worst fire disasters the West has ever seen. And this isn't a problem that ends Sunday morning either. The extended outlook shows essentially no meaningful rain coming to the Pacific Northwest fire zones for the foreseeable future, just isolated mountain thunderstorms that are more likely to spark new dry lightning fires than actually help. Fire officials confirmed today that above normal wildfire risk is expected to continue through early fall, with temperatures climbing back toward 90 degrees in eastern Oregon and Washington by Monday and Tuesday once this wind event passes. Real, lasting relief probably won't show up until late September or October. So, how did we even get here? It really traces back to this past spring, when 8 western states hit record low snowpack on April 1st, an extreme departure from what's normal according to federal fire forecasters. Washington's snowpack was completely melted out by April 26th, a full 3 weeks earlier than usual, which meant vegetation dried out way ahead of schedule, and fire season effectively started early and never really let up. That's how we've landed at 4.8 million acres burned nationally, 128% of the average fire count, and 133% of average acreage. And it's still only the beginning of August. If you live anywhere in the fire regions of Oregon, Washington, Idaho, or Montana, here's what officials are asking people to actually do tonight. Sign up for your county's emergency alert system right now if you haven't. Know exactly what evacuation level you're in. Level 1 means get ready. Level 2 means be prepared to leave immediately. Level 3 means go now. No exceptions. Keep your gas tank full every single night, because stations along evacuation routes can shut down or get overwhelmed within minutes during an emergency. Pack a go bag tonight with medications, important documents, water, and enough supplies for at least 3 days, and keep it by the door. And if a Level 3 order comes for your area, leave right away, because emergency crews cannot promise door-to-door warnings during a fast-moving fire. This is very much a developing story, and the moment those winds arrive Saturday morning and we see how these fires actually respond, I'll be back with an update. So turn your notifications on now, because that could end up being the most important video of the entire season. To every single firefighter out on the line tonight, thank you. If this was useful, hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you Saturday morning. Stay safe out there, and look out for each other.